Whether you live in a house in the hills and the project, shoot or royalty over here, you guys. Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer or an attorney. If you need legal advice, please seek a legal professional, a legal licensed professional. But I am not that. So I want to get into the first 5 definitions of the FDCPA. And if you study law and anything, it is important to first start with um, the definitions section, because a definition and under the FDCPA, that same word can mean something else in another section of the law. So with that being said, we're going to get into the first 5 definitions of the FDCPA, y'all. I'm going to keep it like this. All right. The term bureau means the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. Again, it does not say Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, because they are credit reporting agencies. They are not bureaus. Why do they put credit bureau why do they put bureau at the end of it? Because they want to make themselves seem bigger than what they actually are. The term communication means the conveying of information regarding a debt directly or indirectly to any person through any medium, right? So this is really, really important to know what the term communication means, right? Because when you send, let's just say, a debt collector a cease and desist, right? Whether you make it conditional or whether for whatever reason you say, I'm going to stop all communication, I wouldn't recommend you do that. But let's just say, for instance, it is. You need to know if they are communicating with you, because you may think, oh, I sent them a cease and desist. They're not calling me on the phone anymore, but they're writing you through email. Or they're not writing me on email or calling me over the phone, but they're sending you a postcard, or they're sending you, anything, right? Directly or indirectly through any medium: phone, email, social media, your credit report, right? Your credit report is a medium that they indirectly communicate with you by. So they're not directly emailing you, they're not directly emailing or calling your phone. They're not directing it towards you, but they're indirectly sending it to the credit bureaus. And I mean, you check your credit report, right? You look at it and they're talking about you. They're building a case. They're building a profile that they're saying, this is, what it is you owe. This is, who you owe. This is whatever all the information that is there. They're indirectly communicating with you through your credit report as well. The term consumer means any natural person obligated or allegedly obligated to pay any debt. So, if you if you have been studying any definitions, right? We know a natural person cannot be a corporation. So, they can never be a consumer, right? So when you are communicating, right, with anybody at this point in time, whether it be a financial institution, a debt collector, a credit reporting agency, you always want to refer to, if you're going to refer to yourself not by name, you're the consumer, you're the natural person, obligated or allegedly obligated to pay any debt, right? So Congress gives you the option. If you say, you know what, this is my debt and I'm obligated to pay for it, then you handle that accordingly, or you're allegedly obligated to pay any debt. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but the most important thing to know is that you are a consumer, right? And not a person, because a person means something different. A person can be a corporation or a natural person, but but again, you can be both, but they cannot be. The term creditor means any person who offers or extends credit, creating a debt, or to whom a debt is owed. But such term does not include any person to the extent that he receives an assignment or transfer of debt in default solely for the purpose of facilitating collection of such debt or another. I want you to think about this term, right? The term creditor means any person who offers or extends credit, creating a debt, or to whom a debt is owed. But such term does not include any person to the extent that he receives an assignment or transfer of a debt solely for the purposes of facilitating collection of such debt or for another. So when you look at, let's just say, car contracts, for instance, right? Doesn't it say this debt is getting assigned over to the finance company? Hmm. These are just my thoughts and what I've been thinking. Doesn't it say that? Right? When they assign the debt over to another part of the company to facilitate collection, is that not a debt collector? And then the most commonly known one is our third party debt collectors, right? They're not creditors. They're there just to collect a debt. They're there just to get paid. The term debt means any obligation or alleged obligation of a consumer to pay money arising out of a transaction in which the money, property, insurance, or services which are the subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, or household purposes, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. Okay, this one is important too, right? Because we need to know what debt is, right? We know what a creditor is, but we need to know what debt is. So the term debt means any obligation or alleged obligation. Again, they keep using this word alleged obligation of a consumer to pay because they know that a especially a third party debt collector cannot collect, right, lawfully on a debt because again you did not sign a contract with this person. They are not creditors. They didn't extend you anything, right? How are you going to buy my debt from somewhere else and then come after me for the full amount when you got it for pennies on the dollar? That doesn't make any sense, right? To pay money arising out of a transaction in which the money, property, insurance, or services which are the subject of the transaction are primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. That section is really, really important because when we dive deeper into classes and things like that, you're going to get a understanding of why, right? Congress makes it clear that these transactions are for personal, family, or household purposes because they are consumer credit transactions. And when you enter into those transactions using your social security card, the debt is supposed to already be accounted for. Whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. So, again, it's still an alleged obligation, even if it's been reduced to judgment. Okay? So, yeah, them suing you, which a third party debt collector doesn't even have any grounds to sue you, but suing you um, does not make the debt valid, right? Just because you sue me doesn't make the debt valid. And Congress also says if you sue me and I fail to validate the debt, it should not be taken, only assumed to be taken that I owe the debt. So if you don't go after these companies and say, validate this, verify that this is me, okay? Verify that I owe you, send me in writing validation of the debt, and if I forget to do that, and you take me and you put a judgment against me, that is not admission to the court that I am liable, right? You can only assume that I am liable, but assumptions are assumptions, right? They're not for sure. So, with that being said, y'all, that is the first 5 definitions that you really should look into when studying the FDCPA. That is the end of this video, y'all. I will see you guys in the next one.